Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for another SkySwitch University webinar series. Got Jayson Jones here, we have Emily Vasquez, and I have Eric Hernaez. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. And we're going to go through, I think, a very interesting presentation with you today of what's new at SkySwitch. There's always something brewing at SkySwitch, and we want our valued resellers out there to be the first to know. So we're going to get ready to get started here. I'm going to start off with a few slides here. Eric, if you could advance that slide, but I think I'll have to get that for him as he just took off. So the first thing we're going to go over here, and of course, we're going to do the same format as we always do on SkySwitch webinars. We'll have a Q&A session at the end to answer all your questions. And any other topics you want to bring up, we can try to address some of those if we have the time, allotted in this 1 hour period. But we want to announce Vectors 2019. We are going back to Orlando, and this year we're going to be holding the Vectors conference at the Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort at Universal Studios. This is a fantastic resort. I've already had a few resellers tell me they're bringing a lot of staff over, 6, 8 people this year. Content this year is going to be very exciting. A lot of focus on sales, marketing, technical tracks, breakouts. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. We're expecting at least 500 people to be in attendance this year. We already have sponsorships that are coming in. We have title sponsors and diamond sponsors, and some of the vendors that are coming in are going to be opportunities for you to go out and generate new revenue streams utilizing some of those technologies. So we just want you to know registration will be open today. And if you go in and register today, we're going to give you $50 off your registration. So early bird registration is only $2.99. If you go in today and register for Vectors, for yourself, for your employees, only $2.49. So the pricing is very good, as you can see, and we are so excited to have you down there in Orlando this year. So look forward to seeing everybody down there. We're going to move on to the next slide, and I'm going to turn it over to Eric right now, and he's going to start going through all the new technologies we have in store for you today. Take it away, Eric.
Okay, thanks, Jayson. So the purpose of this was just to talk about some of the features and plans that we have, things that we have released over the past several months, and to talk about what we have in store for the rest of the year. Of course, if you have any questions, please just type the questions into the chat window, and we'll handle all of them at the end of the presentation. This is really meant just as a sort of open forum to keep you informed with what's going on at SkySwitch and what we're thinking and doing, and to get your feedback, of course. So there's no particular order. I'm just going to jump right in and talk about the changes. First up is the PBX Portal. So as I'm sure many of the older resellers know, for some of the new resellers, you may not have realized, but it used to be that the password used to access the PBX portal was the voicemail PIN, and so that's no longer the case. There is a separate password now specifically for the portal that is different than the PIN. Just one thing though is if you were to select the no portal option for a PBX user, then it would still use the voicemail PIN for them to access PBX portal features. For example, when you access Reach UC, you have to be able to log in, but if you didn't have a PBX portal login, you wouldn't be able to access Reach UC. So in that case, the workaround is you select no portal as the role for that user, and then that user would be able to log in to Reach UC with their username and voicemail PIN. So that was a change. Of course, in January, we introduced Button Builder, which was a big improvement in the way that buttons are programmed on supported phones. This is something that we're going to continue working on and improving. But it was something that was a long time coming that we had received many requests for. And I guess the important thing to note, though, is that there are still a number of resellers who have not started using Button Builder yet. And if that's the case, perhaps you weren't aware or did not see the announcement, it's something that you should definitely look into if you have it. And then this is an important one, the call center improvements. Just a couple of weeks ago, we released some call center improvements that improved a lot of the deficiencies in our call center application. So reports are now a lot more accurate than they were. And what we did is we actually had to fork the NetSapiens code and take that in-house and develop that ourselves, just because our requirements were not matching with the NetSapiens release cycle. So hopefully, if you're using call center, you'll notice and appreciate the improvements. If you haven't used call center, or perhaps you did not use the call center because you were not happy with the reports, please give it another try. We think we've done a lot of good, and we're going to continue to improve it. And we would like, of course, your feedback if you have any for us on that. Okay. Again, if you have questions or comments about any of this, just put them in the chat session. We'll handle them at the end of the presentation. Next topic is CRM connectors. So if you use CRM connectors, you know that our previous partnership with TenFold was phased out. TenFold decided that they did not want to sell through channel partners any longer, and they only sell direct to retail now. So we phased out the last of our TenFold accounts in March, and those are accounts that were bought through SkySwitch and billed by SkySwitch. And so many of you who had TenFold accounts had to make the decision whether you wanted to deal directly with TenFold. That was unfortunate the way that transpired. TenFold did not give us much notice about their change in business plan. And so it left us kind of scrambling for a solution. Luckily, we were able to come up with a couple. The first is Loop, which is a browser extension that does CRM screen pop-ups. And this is available as a ReachUC extension. That was released in March. The nice thing about Loop is that the developers of that browser extension are more than happy to private label that for you. So if you'd like your own version of the Loop browser extension, you can just get in touch with Loop. Their information is on the extension page. If you click on that link from the ReachUC website, you'll see how to get in touch with them. And that's been working out very well for a number of you a number of resellers that I know have tried it. And then in addition to Loop, we have a new CRM connector called Mondago. And this is brand new. We just started providing accounts for this month. Some of you who had expressed interest were part of a test that we did a little earlier, but now it's available to anyone. And so Mondago supports a couple dozen different CRMs. It's all on their website. There's also a page in our support or documentation portal, docs.skyswitch.com, that discusses how Mondago can be installed and used. So this is something that we spent a lot of time, and as I mentioned, we scrambled to try to get out after TenFold made their change, and we're pretty happy with the results. Now we're continuing to work with Mondago. There are still a couple issues, but they shouldn't be showstoppers for you in terms of selling the solution. One in particular is that and I'll just mention this, and there are others which are documented on the website, if you have multiple phones associated with an account and they're in SIM ring, Mondago doesn't work. And so that's something that we're working with them to try and fix. But still, it's easily solved by making sure that an agent that's using Mondago only has a single device registered to their extension. Okay, moving on, we'll talk about ReachUC. So we had a ton of requests to be able to support group chat in ReachUC, and that feature is currently in testing. and we hope to have it into production by the end of May. Testing is looking good so far. Basically, the goal is to make the ReachUC client work similar to the Apple messaging client or the Android messaging client, where it's easy to start a group chat and maintain that as a separate thread, if you will. We're going for the same user experience in ReachUC. One of the benefits of the changes that we're making is that it will now be possible to share an SMS number with multiple ReachUC users. Currently, the way it works, there's only there's a one-to-one relationship between an SMS number and a user. And even though you can send copies of SMS messages to other users, a user who gets a copy, if they reply, cannot reply from the ReachUC client using the number that was originally sent to. So this is admittedly a less than ideal situation, and we're fixing that as part of our group chat deployment. Rocket Chat is another relatively new ReachUC feature. So for those of you who are not familiar, Rocket Chat is a group messaging application that's very similar to Slack. We love Slack at SkySwitch. We use it all day and every day. Rocket Chat is almost identical, except that it's an open source project. So you can actually download the Rocket Chat server software, run it. It runs perfectly well in AWS or Azure, and offer that as a service to your customers. Now, what we did is we made an integration between our SMS platform and Rocket Chat so that you can send and receive SMS messages from a Rocket Chat channel to an SMS sender or receiver. So this is pretty new. We only have a couple resellers that I'm aware of that are using it, but if you do get a request to support group chat, and of course group chat will be built into ReachUC, but this is a slightly different experience, and if you don't use Slack, you may not be aware of the nuances and how it works and how it's different, but it's worth looking into if you do have a request from a customer who wants a group chat application. Next item is improved integrations. If you haven't looked at the ReachUC website, reachuc.com lately, or if you have rather, you'll notice that there are several new integrations there. The most notable of which is our ReachUC browser extension. It's now called ReachUC Complete, and we've added the ability to send faxes, send SMS messages, and to initiate web conference, or to schedule web conferences rather, directly from the browser extension. So big improvement over the way that it used to work, and we're planning to continue to improve the browser extension, as well as to continue to improve the integrations with ReachUC in general. That's a main focus of our development and something that we plan to continue to devote resources to. On the roadmap for ReachUC is the PBX Portal. So today, if you want to chat with ReachUC users, you have to be using the ReachUC client. The NetSapiens portal has the capability to allow you to chat through the portal. It's something that we hadn't offered in the past because we're taking a slightly different track than NetSapiens has decided to take with respect to the chat application. But we'll be able to take the interface, which is a small window that pops up with any of your contacts in the PBX portal, and allow you to initiate ReachUC messages to those contacts if they also have ReachUC accounts. So that's something that we expect to make available by the end of the year. The other thing that's new and exciting with ReachUC is that we'll have a chat queue for call center agents. So this is actually something that's supported in version 41 of the NetSapiens platform. We're currently on version 39, and they just recently released version 40. So in the next version they release, which is version 41, which we may be able to deploy by the end of the year, depending on how testing goes, you will now be able to receive chat messages as part of a queue for call center agents. So In the call center world, omni-channel, as they call it, is big. That's the ability to interact with customers, not just on phone calls, but also through different means, chat and SMS being a big part of that. And so support for that is something that many resellers have asked for, and we're happy to say that it's on the roadmap and will be soon available. Okay, I think that's everything for Reach UC. Moving on, we'll talk about business SMS. So business SMS, of course, is something that's possible through the Reach UC applications, but you can also use business SMS separately from Reach UC, either by routing SMS messages to an email address or to our SMS responder application. In any case, business SMS is taking the world by storm. Almost everybody is talking about SMS message as an application for businesses. It's a messaging first world, as people like to say, and the reason is because a lot of customers would prefer to send a message, a chat or SMS message, as opposed to making a phone call. So it's important for us as vendors to the business telecom world to support that, and we do. One of the ways that the messaging world is changing is that both Google and Apple are introducing business chat applications. Google calls theirs RCS, Apple calls theirs business chat, but really the idea is to replace the more basic SMS functionality with a multimedia feature, sort of to make the business chat work more like Facebook Messenger. So there will be interactive components to it. In Google's RCS, for example, it's possible to send a card with a buy now button. So if somebody sends a message to you, you could reply to that customer with a buy now button. And that buy now button is just really a script that will execute some application that allows them to charge whatever they're buying to their Google payment accounts. That's just one example. There's many others. If you Google RCS, you'll see many examples. Apple's a little bit further back in their development cycle. They've announced support for business chat, but haven't really released anything yet, but they intend to. And much of the world, including Facebook and all of the other chat applications out there, are coming out with business solutions. So at SkySwitch, we intend to be able to support all of them and to offer you as resellers the ability to leverage what these companies are doing and to make them part of your own solutions. That said, the industry is really still in flux. There's a lot of stuff happening in the business, or just in the SMS and MMS world, that's changing. For example, Verizon introduced a surcharge because they want to capitalize on the increase in business SMS messages. And they announced this last November. It was supposed to go into effect in February. I believe they've delayed that, but that's just one example. And where Verizon goes, other carriers are sure to follow. So the carriers are still trying to figure out, number one, how to adequately monetize SMS messages, and number two, how to make SMS messaging secure so that you don't get the same kind of spam over SMS that you currently get over email. So the industry still hasn't quite come to terms with how all of these different applications are going to be treated. So there is a little bit of uncertainty out there. What's not uncertain, though, is that SMS and MMS and messaging and chat in general are growing very quickly in the business world. And again, we'll do our best to navigate and help you navigate through the uncertainties as they arise. One thing to note, Google RCS and Apple Business Chat sort of bypass the carriers. These are applications that are more like email and less like SMS and MMS messages. So whereas Verizon and the other carriers seek to charge money for every SMS message, Google RCS and Business Chat are not charging per message. It's unclear what their charging mechanism will be, but it definitely won't be per message. So that's all playing out as we speak, and we'll keep you informed as more information becomes available. That said, one of the things that the carriers are doing in their efforts to keep spam down is to implement spam filters. And this is one of the tougher parts of providing an SMS service, is that deliverability can sometimes be affected. What will happen is the carriers have artificial intelligence kind of deep packet inspection applications that are looking for spammy type messages. And so if a company is sending spam that has to do with a pharmacy, for example, or some type of pharmaceutical drug, and they see a lot of message volume with that particular drug name in it on a particular day, they'll add that to their spam filter, and now all of a sudden any message that has that word in it will not be delivered. It's very frustrating because as a consumer of the service, you don't know necessarily that your message wasn't delivered. All that happens is that the end user doesn't get it. So this is one of the gotchas in the SMS world, and it affects us. And many of you have opened tickets with support saying, "Hey, a message didn't get through." And really, it's very difficult for us as application providers to know when that happens because the carriers don't make it clear. And we're doing our best to find workarounds and to work around those issues. We'll continue to try to improve our ability to deliver messages. One of the things that makes it frustrating is for example, a message will be delivered perfectly fine to all carriers except for one. So maybe T-Mobile has a spam filter in effect today that's affecting your message. It wasn't in effect yesterday. It might not be in effect tomorrow. We don't know what that is. We just know that we sent the message to T-Mobile and it never got to the end user. So that's just an example of how these spam filters can affect deliverability. And again, it's something that the whole ecosystem is subject to, and something that we all have to learn to work with. So on the roadmap for our business SMS service is Slack support. We intend to be able to have a Slack plugin that will allow Slack users to send and receive business SMS messages, much the same that our Rocket Chat plugin works today. The other thing that's on the roadmap is the ability to give you CDRs to be able to bill per message for SMS messages. So today in your MSA, it says that you're entitled with a ReachUC account, and this is just an example of how it plays out, to 500 outbound messages, and we would charge you per message in excess of 500. Well, we realized that we can't charge you until we give you the ability to charge your customers, and we're still developing the ability to create those SMS CDRs, if you will. So it's something that is under development, and until we're able to give you the ability to charge your customers, we're not charging for overages over the 500 message limit. Okay, I think that's everything on business SMS. I'm just going to continue to go down my list. Next is the SkySwitch store. So a lot of developments in the SkySwitch store recently. I sent out an announcement a couple days ago looking for people who wanted to test with Jenny and Teledynamics. These are our two most recent distribution partners in the SkySwitch store. As you probably know, our sole distribution partner had been 888 VoIP. And now we're adding a couple others. What this means to you is that if you have a Jenny account or a Teledynamics account, you can put your account credentials into the store, and any purchases you make through the store will use your account with these distributors, and you won't be purchasing from SkySwitch. Now that's something that's also available with 888 VoIP. If you have your own 888 VoIP account, you can put those credentials into the store and purchase from them using your account instead of buying from SkySwitch. The reason you would do that, of course, is to use the automated provisioning. So from a single screen in the store, you can purchase a device, get the MAC address, and assign that MAC address to a user in the PBX, all in the same application. That makes ordering equipment and having it shipped to your customers a lot easier. We realize that not everybody wants to purchase from SkySwitch. Among other things, we don't give terms. So if you're buying from us, you're paying for that with a credit card. You can of course negotiate terms with one of the distributors yourself. Use your own account, buy through the store, and still get the auto provisioning benefits of that. So again, we got about 50 responses when I sent out that email. If you didn't see the email, and if you have Jenny or Teledynamics or even 888 VoIP for that matter, and would like to test using your own account, just open a ticket with support, and we'll get you taken care of. One of the new things with having Jenny and Teledynamics, though, is that we're going to be able to add new manufacturers to our store. So we'll be carrying, among others, Netgear, TP-Link for PoE switches, and PepLink for routers in the store. So you can expect to see those show up in the coming weeks. We're excited to be able to offer these additional manufacturers and give you a one-stop shop for your equipment needs. This next item is sales tax support. So until, well, today even, if you buy from the store, we were not charging sales tax. Now this is irrespective of your tax status with SkySwitch. So if you're exempt from taxes, as you know, with all other services, we don't tax you. If you're not exempt from taxes, meaning you haven't satisfied the tax exemption criteria that we impose, you do get sales tax added to your invoice. Until now, that hasn't been the case in the store, but because of the other changes that we're making to the store, we have to now start charging sales tax. If you're exempt, though, that exemption will carry through to the store, and you won't be charged sales tax in the store. If you're not exempt, then you will start seeing sales tax being charged on your purchases in the store. The reason that we've done that is because we've launched the branded end user store. For those of you who didn't see the announcements that went out a little earlier this year, we're offering end user stores where your end users can go to purchase equipment from an interface that has your branding on it. So now it's still SkySwitch that's fulfilling that through our distribution partners. But as far as the end user is concerned, it appears to them that they're buying from a website that is yours. In order to do that on a wide-scale basis, we had to support sales tax, and hence the reason for the sales tax support across the board. On the end user store, if it's something that you're interested and you're a new reseller perhaps and you didn't see the announcement, just send a request to support and we'll get you set up. On the roadmap for the end user store, and this is exciting, will be the ability to purchase DIDs and even PBX seats. So what this means is that your end user can go to the end user store and buy a new DID and assign it to their user in the PBX, or even buy a new PBX seat. Now this is something that if you ask 10 different resellers, there's 10 different ideas about how this end user store should work. And so we're trying to navigate through those requests and come up with something that is applicable to the broadest requirements out there. If you have ideas about how you'd like it to work, I'd like to hear from you. But this is something that we see as an option that we can give you as a reseller that can really help make your operations more efficient. So that order process and being able to push that order process out to an end user interface instead of doing it by email or by telephone. Okay, that was the last item for the SkySwitch store. So moving along, talking about our web and video conferencing platform. So this is something that's been available since SkySwitch started back in 2014, but recently we've been seeing more adoption among resellers, and that's great. I've always said that this is a prime way for you to differentiate yourselves from other telecom hosted PBX providers, because it's something that not everybody is able to offer. And the fact that the SkySwitch web and video conferencing platform is integrated with the PBX just makes for a better user experience, makes for a much stickier solution. So we've been working on improving that, and one of the things that we've done is to introduce a huddle room appliance. So a huddle room, for those of you that don't know, is just another room for a conference room with a telepresence system in it. The big telepresence manufacturers, though, needed a cheaper solution. They needed, teleconference solutions from companies like Polycom and Cisco cost tens of thousands of dollars. So they rebranded their telepresence solutions as huddle rooms to be able to sell them cheaper, and they're supposed to be for smaller conference rooms. In any case, we worked with RHub, our web conferencing vendor, to develop an appliance that can be installed in a conference room, and it is basically a dedicated appliance. You walk into the conference room, you turn on the monitor that's in there, and you can start a web conference with just a couple clicks. Of course, you could do this with a computer, but it would require you connecting the computer to the monitor and having some sort of speakerphone solution. We've made that much easier. That, of course, hinders adoption because it's just more steps before you're able to start a conference. With the huddle room of appliance, it's very simple. It's integrated with a speakerphone that's probably already in the conference room. You start a conference. It shows the contents of all the participants in the room. It works with the speakerphone. It's really a very slick solution. And if you haven't looked at it, I encourage you to do it. Again, it's something else that you can do that can meet a need of your customers. They might be going to Zoom or one of the other video conferencing services out there to do this today. They don't have to. They can buy this from you, and you can deliver a very compelling solution. Now, one of the features I just wanted to mention that we launched as part of the huddle room solution is auto call. This is a feature where when you start a web or video conference, the system will now call your extension automatically, so you don't have to place that call into your bridge as a separate step. Something that makes conferences that much easier to start. You just have to launch the client, start the conference, and it will now automatically call you on your phone. Of course, you always have the option to have the conference through your computer, through a headset and speakers. But again, because it's integrated with the PBX, it's something that we can do to make it that much more user-friendly. Okay, moving on to, there's one other item. I can't believe I almost forgot this. The mobile apps have improved a great deal. If you haven't used the web and video conferencing mobile apps recently, give them a try. They really work very well. So there are apps for both Android and iOS on Apple. And what that means is you can host or join a web or video conference directly from your mobile phone using the apps, and it works great. Now, we do not have brandable mobile apps for web and video conferencing yet. It's something that we're working on with our vendor, RHub, to deliver. I believe the Apple app is called Connecting, and the Android app is called Turbo Meeting. So you do have to use those apps to join a web or video conference from a mobile phone today. But they work great, and assuming you can live with the lack of branding, it's something that end users really appreciate. Okay, the next item on the list is HIPAA. So this was a major push for the later part of 2018, being able to sign BAAs with all of you resellers so that you can feel comfortable in doing business with medical professionals. We were able to do that through our partnership with the Compliancy Group. If you don't have a BAA with us, by all means, send a request to support, and we'll get you one. So what this means is that you can, with confidence, tell your customers that your vendors are HIPAA compliant. Now, this doesn't mean that you are HIPAA compliant, because HIPAA compliance is not really about the technology. It's more about the processes that you have in place to protect and ensure awareness amongst your customers when problems occur. So there's nothing that we as a vendor to you can do to make you HIPAA compliant. That's completely up to you, and you have to check all the boxes. Now, we've tried to make it easy through our partnership with the Compliancy Group. There's a path where you can engage Compliancy Group and become HIPAA compliant on your own. And the fact that we will sign a BAA with you means that we do our part to make you HIPAA compliant. One of the things that we have to do that, and this does not detract from our ability to say that we're HIPAA compliant, but having an audit trail is a big part of of the equation. Today, if you were to get a request from a provider to look at what's happened, if they request an audit trail, you'd have to open a ticket with support, and we'd have to provide that information to you. One of the things we're doing is we're pushing that information into the dashboard, so that if an audit becomes necessary, you're able to access it directly from the dashboard. Okay, moving on. This is a big topic. Started around September of last year. SimpleWAN, our chosen solution for QoS routers, cloud-managed QoS routers, like many companies in the ecosystem, is still trying to find the right business model. Anyway, the latest with SimpleWAN is that they're phasing out their orange boxes, and they're coming out with a new solution they call SimpleWAN Platinum. And of course, the boxes will now be platinum instead of orange. Really, the difference is they're charging more for their support, well, for the solution in general. At SkySwitch, we always saw QoS routers as just an enabler. It's something that enabled you to provide better service to your customers and us to provide better service to you. And so what we did is we made a deal with SimpleWAN, and we passed on our volume purchasing power to you. So it meant that we were charging you exactly what we were being charged by SimpleWAN for the subscription cost of the cloud routers. Turns out SimpleWAN was not able to support their business on the amount that they were charging us and we were charging you. And they have new pricing for their Platinum solution. I believe it's $60 now a month, which is a lot more than the $5 or $6 actually that it has been, 10 times to be exact. And I know that the SimpleWAN support has been a big issue. Many of you who tried SimpleWANs decided to not use them because you weren't happy with the support that SimpleWAN provided. And SimpleWAN, for their part, was saying, well, we can't afford to provide good support on $6 a box. So their answer to that is to charge more. Our answer to that is to find other solutions. So we still plan to continue selling SimpleWAN, and SimpleWAN has committed to provide support for the orange boxes at the existing price of $6 for as long as they're out there. So you can still buy SimpleWAN boxes from the store. The support will still be $6 for the life of that box. However, when we run out of stock of SimpleWAN orange boxes, we'll have to start selling the Platinum boxes, and the Platinum boxes will come with the Platinum support charge. And anyway, this is all also newly developing and sort of in process. So I guess the best that I can say is stay tuned. You know, we don't know what the Platinum experience is going to be like, and you know, as we said to SimpleWAN's management, it's incumbent on them to prove to us that their new pricing is going to be worth what they're charging, or their new support model will be worth what they're charging. But in the interim, we don't want to leave you without a solution. So today it is possible to buy the new cloud-to-edge, cloud-managed EdgeMark, or as they're now called, Ribbon solution. These boxes are available in the SkySwitch store. And this for us is a partnership with 88 VoIP. 88 VoIP actually supports the cloud-to-edge platform. So when you buy from us, you're really buying from the 88 VoIP team, but we've been very happy so far with the experience on the cloud to edge devices, and they are an alternative to SimpleWAN. In addition to that, though, we plan to start supporting the Peplink cloud managed solution. They call it In Control, and it's one of the things that we intend to make available to you in the near future. Again, you know, just because you don't like any of the QoS router solutions that we offer, there are many more available out there, and of course, QoS routers are very important in this business. We're working on finding the right mix of features and cost to give you an edge in selling to your end users, and it's something, you know, that frankly we haven't solved 100%, but we'd like to give you options, and that's what we plan to do. Okay, next on my list is the network assessment tool, or NPAT as we call it. That's an acronym that Blake came up with for Network Performance and Assessment Tool. I think I got that right. Anyway, it was launched in March of this year, and this was another project that was the result of a lot of requests from resellers. Basically, resellers were saying, we'd like a way to validate whether a particular customer's network can support VoIP. And so we took we took a system from a company called Visualware. We integrated it with the SkySwitch platform, and we're able to launch this as a branded web page that your users can go to. Again, you control the look and feel of it, the test runs, and it will tell your customers and you whether the network that the web page is loaded onto will support VoIP calls. So what it does is it performs an actual VoIP test, so it simulates VoIP calls, and you can choose how many call paths you want to test for. So anywhere from 1 to 20 call paths, I believe, are in the options. It actually simulates calls between the computer that's running the web page and one of our co-location facilities, and returns to you a report that shows all of the metrics that you need to know about that network. So again, this has been available since March. If you haven't started using it, I really encourage you to start using it. It can save you a lot of time, not only in assessing whether a site is workable with VoIP, but even in troubleshooting. If a customer calls in with quality service issues, of course we give you other tools to assess the quality of service. But this is just another arrow in your quiver, another tool in your toolbox, another way for you to attack the problem. What this does is it looks at the packet flow from the perspective of the user's network, and will give you another reading about what that looks like from the actual LAN that the equipment is running on. So again, if you have any questions about this is something that's available in your dashboard to set up. But if you have any questions, there are articles in the help docs, and support is always available to answer your questions as well. Okay, next is our spam call prevention solution. This is something that we announced in October of last year. It's a partnership with NomoRobo. We've basically taken the NomoRobo service and integrated it with our DID platform, and given you a way to stop robocalls. Robocalls are a huge problem, especially around tax time. They surge, and it's not something that just affects consumers and cell phones. It also affects any phone number, including business numbers. And the real part of the problem is that these robocallers use local numbers to originate calls. So it looks like a local call that's coming into a business. And of course, that local call is just being spoofed. So it looks like a potential customer might be calling. And so it's hard to really identify and stop those calls. Well, NomoRobo is a platform that was developed specifically to do that. They've won many awards. They've been recognized as the leading provider of robocall remediation. And for the customers that have used it, all I've heard is positive things. If you haven't used it yet, encourage you to do it. Again, you can learn how to enable the spam filtering by DID in our doc section, or support is able to help you. But couldn't be happier about this particular partnership. I think it's been working great. And NomoRobo is doing well. They recently took out an ad in the New York Times. It ran on April 15th, talking about their efforts to thwart robocalls around tax day. Okay, so that's that, and just a couple of other items I wanted to touch on. So some of the stuff that's on the roadmap. First is our Connectwise integration. We've been working very hard to get this done. Many, if not most of you out there are Connectwise users, and we're trying to solve the problem in two different ways. We're going to be putting all of our dashboard tools right into the Connectwise interface, so that you can see information about your customer's phone service right in the Connectwise company page. I forget what they call it. It's not a widget, it's something. Anyway, it will be right there on the company page and in other places in the Connectwise interface. And so we expect to make that available by June this year. And that's phase 1 of our integration. Phase 2 will actually be integration with Connectwise billing, so that any billable item on the SkySwitch platform can get pushed back into Connectwise so that you can actually present it on a Connectwise bill. Now, this was a challenge in the past because one of the things is, as you know, in the telecom world is telecom taxation, and the regulations say that you have to be able to enumerate every kind of tax as a separate line item on the bill. And in the past, Connectwise has only allowed one line item for taxes. So you could say taxes are whatever, but you couldn't break it down by the particular types of tax. Well, Connectwise recently changed that, and I believe we'll be the first VoIP provider to actually implement the solution and let those charges be shown on a Connectwise bills with the proper line items for each taxation item. So it's something we're very excited about. We're actively becoming more involved in the Connectwise world and hope to give you more good things about Connectwise in the future. The other thing that we're working on is to sell 3CX SIP trunks. Many of you out there are 3CX resellers. We recently became a 3CX Platinum solution provider, and we're going to be offering you a way to, in 3CX, when you set up a SIP trunk, there's a drop-down box that lets you select who your SIP trunk provider is. And if you're an approved SIP trunk provider, they give you a nice green check mark. If you're setting up an unapproved SIP trunk, there's a red dot there that means it's unapproved. It still works, it just has a red dot. Anyway, what our partnership with 3CX allows us to do is to give you a way to give your customers that green seal of approval when they select one of your SIP trunks. And through our working relationship with 3CX, for those of you that do sell the 3CX solution, you'll now be able to go to 3CX with support issues. So if there's a problem with the SIP trunk, of course, SkySwitch support is here, and we're going to support you to the same standards that we always endeavor to. But you can also go to 3CX, and they will help to support these SIP trunks as well. So we're expecting to release support for that in September of this year. And then lastly is Microsoft Teams support. Microsoft has been making huge strides to compete with Slack, right? Slack is the 800-pound gorilla in the chat world these days. They're going public. They're high profile, lots of press coverage. Microsoft saw themselves losing out to that market. They had Skype for Business, which was not competing well against Slack. They rebranded that as Microsoft Teams, and now are doing very well with Microsoft Teams, competing against Slack. The difference, though, is that Microsoft Teams is actually a VoIP client, so you can make calls between Microsoft Teams users, much the same way that you could make Skype calls between Teams users. Well, what Microsoft did is they recently opened up the ecosystem so that you could provision SIP trunks to Microsoft Teams members. So you could take the DID number and route it right to a Microsoft Teams client. So we'll be supporting that. Microsoft calls it direct routing. And we're going to add our own spin to that as well, and even support more features, which I won't get into here, but it will definitely be a compelling story. So if you have customers that use Microsoft Teams, it will be possible to treat Microsoft Teams like a soft phone. So instead of using whatever soft phone they happen to be using, they can now use Microsoft Teams and treat that just like any other extension on the PBX. We're excited about this. I know that many of you support Microsoft Teams users and even sell Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Office 365 to your user base. So this should be a big boon for you. Okay. That covered all the items on my list. I think we'll start with the Q&A now.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I appreciate you taking the time to explain all that. And I just want to reiterate to the entire reseller base out there, you know, a lot of what you've seen in today's presentation is just a result of the communication that you give us about features, functionality, even problems that you have out there in the market. And the entire SkySwitch staff is here to help you, assist you, and continue to develop this white label ecosystem so you can get out there and compete at a very, very high level. That's what it's all about for us. I'm going to get into these questions because as you got through a couple of the later slides there, Eric, they really started to pop in here. So when it comes to, you got prompted for a password when connected to the Vectors 2019 site. I understand that's fully ready to go. So go ahead and purchase your Vectors passes in there and register for the conference right now. SkySwitch will be issuing you a credit back for that. So anybody that comes in today, we're going to issue you that $50 credit back on your next month's statement. So that is the way that's going to work. Okay, so there is going to be no code there, and I just wanted to reiterate that. We've got a kudo here, Love Button Builder. So hey, thanks to Blake's team and the development team for getting all that done and getting integrated and actually working properly. We appreciate that. Any ETA on a revamped design for the app and desktop interface? Still very clunky and not clean modern design like competition. Ring Central Vonage, thanks.
Okay, so frankly, we've been working on adding additional functionality to the ReachUC client, and that's what we've been really trying to get out of the way. And the group chat is the latest example of that. But once group chat is done, and it's really too soon to talk, we're working with, we've already started the discussions with Acrobits to redesign the client, and we'll be coming out with a new client. I can't give a date, but the purpose will be to improve the look and feel of the desktop client. That said, and this is really separate, it won't be part of ReachUC, but we've also been talking to Counterpath, and we'll be able to resell their BRIA solution, Stretto, I think it's called, the cloud managed. They're making a lot of changes there, but I think it's still called Stretto. So that will be another alternative for a soft phone, and frankly, that will probably be a better desktop client, not necessarily a better mobile client, but a better desktop client, and so we're going to make that available. But that doesn't change the fact that we're also committed to supporting ReachUC and to making ReachUC the best desktop client that it can be. Unfortunately, I don't have a date to provide for that yet.
Okay. Next question here is, when will Button Builder be available to end users?
That is a good question. I happen to have Corey sitting right across here from me.
It's very similar. We're waiting on more API upgrade for managers, so maybe
Okay, so he's talking. He's not on mic here, but basically, we're waiting for one more API to be upgraded by the development team, and we expect that to be done within the next 30 days. So at that time, we'll be turning it on for end users. Now, that said, you can still request for us to turn it on for specific end users now, just by making a request to support. So if you have an end user and you feel comfortable making that interface available to them, just ask support to help you with that. But we'll be putting that control into your hands within the next 30 days.
Okay, the next question here is from Shady and ask about what is TenFold. And if you wouldn't mind, I can probably take that one real quick. TenFold is a company that developed a Google extension, which is a screen pop for multiple CRMs. I have to say that probably the best CRM that is supported through TenFold is going to be Salesforce. And I feel like that's one of the most popular CRMs out there in the market today. You're going to see more of that out there. They changed their channel program, as Eric alluded to during the presentation, but doesn't preclude that it doesn't still work very, very well. I mean, the integration does work well. We're just not able to be a reseller for them anymore. So you can go to TenFold Direct to get that integration. And they have multiple versions of their Google extension. It goes from a basic all the way up to a pro enterprise type with type feature functionality. And as that feature functionality increases, obviously the price is going to increase too. So if any of you would like introductions over to TenFold, we still have contacts over there that will help you with the sales cycle. They'll help you with the pricing. They'll help you with training and integration with your customers. It just doesn't go through SkySwitch any further. It is going to be a direct relationship with TenFold. So please reach out to Jayson.Jones at skyswitch.com. That's JAYSON.Jones at skyswitch.com. And I'd be happy to make those introductions for you. The next question we have is adding conference and paging multicast button support in Button Builder, is that on the roadmap? Also support for Yealink T27P.
Okay, so it's not on the roadmap to support paging currently. Something we can look at, but it's not currently there. Support for Yealink T27P should be possible. I'm looking at Corey right now.
Yeah, it should be in there if it's not.
Corey says if it's not in there yet, and I assume it's not since you asked the question, we will be adding it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Corey, for chiming in there. We're going to go back to some of the reporting, and there's a question about the call center seat licenses and so forth. Is the only way to get a historical call accounting report through the call center seat licenses?
That question is not really clear to me. Is the only way to get a historical call accounting report? Do you understand what
I think they want to get historical call reports, and they're asking, is the only way to get those reports through having a call center supervisor role?
So for the call center reports, as they're displayed, yes, that's the only way to do it is if the users had a call center role. I mean, just general call accounting, I guess you'd call it. Well, the CDRs are really the only reports. So yeah, yes, if you're referring to the types of reports that call centers use, then that's the only way to get those reports.
Okay, and just a reminder too, you've got filters that you can set within just the CDR inside user accounts or inside the domain, and you can look and you can send those reports, automatically too. I mean, they're not as extensive as what you would see from a call center scope, but they are out there too, and you can utilize those without having a call center seat. All right, the next question we have was, what was the link for the Vectors conference? That would be www.vectors2019.com. All right, the next question is going to be, is there any way currently or any plans to integrate some type of notifications, such as send an email to support@itservicecompany.com when a phone unregisters or shows offline? This would be helpful for us to be more proactive instead of waiting until a client calls us to tell us that the phone shows no service.
This is actually something that's been on the roadmap for NetSapiens for a while. We haven't tried to solve it ourselves because we've been waiting for NetSapiens to offer this. I actually don't know the current status of this, but Chase, I will find out and get back to you on that.
And I think this next question may pertain to the last question. I think someone was just kind of trying to answer that. I think Chase Webb, who is actually an MSP, he said, we get these type of alerts for firewalls, Wi-Fi access points, computers, etc., to a ticketing system that allows our technicians to be rock stars instead of reactors to issues that arise. So I think on that MSP level, you guys have those values set and those notifications set, and you're able to be more proactive to your user base out there. But having the phones do things like that, and I don't know if I want to mention it, man, if I mention Glance too, one of our resellers has a web app that it can see offline and online, offline endpoints and so forth, and do an auto reset. So those are some things that was presented last year at Vectors, and I think he's going to be presenting again and be a sponsor at this year's Vectors. So look for some more information from Glance to maybe help you in that area.
And to that point, that information is available through the API. So there's nothing that precludes you from creating an application using the API in much the same way that Glance was created.
Okay, this next question, it's a good question. I have both Jenny and Teledynamics accounts. Will I be able to choose between them? Absolutely. You ought to be able to pick and choose which one you want to order your hardware from, and that would all route accordingly to which one you select. All right, our next question, where can I see the Huddle Room appliance? You can go right, I'll just take that one too, if you wouldn't mind, Eric. You can go right to the store. It exists and lives right in the store today. You can order that today. There is a discounted price in there for it. We're basically selling that today at cost just to get some traction, to get our reseller base actually deploying that and installing it and getting your base out there to start utilizing it. So if you have an application and you wish to have some assistance on that, again, contact me. I will get the right personnel set up and be happy to help you out on getting those first deployments out. Next question. Why don't we use our own chat for these meetings?
I think the question is, well, I think the question would be, why don't we use our own web conferencing solution for these meetings? And we started out doing that, but really the GoToWebinar has a nice scheduling application and sends automatic reminders, and it was just more convenient than doing it ourselves. GoToWebinar was purpose designed for these types of things, and so it's worth paying the money for that.
And let me just add on to that too. I mean, our web conferencing solutions too are, they're more SMB focused and more SMB centric. So, doing a screen share between 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, yes, can it do 20? Absolutely. But you're seeing more screen share and just more of that type of application out there in the SMB space. All right, the next question here is, why not get rid of SimpleWAN?
Well, as that's a hot button topic, and the reason is because we have a lot of resellers who still use and rely on it, and so they've figured out the secret to working with SimpleWAN and are happy doing it. So we don't want to just not support SimpleWAN at all anymore. Although I know many of you, justifiably so, have had a much different experience, and we respect, of course, your experience and opinions, but we do have customers who continue to use it.
All right, thanks, Eric. The next question here, I'm going to go ahead and take this one, Eric. ATA Fax, can we provide our own box? You absolutely can. If you can utilize and put anything you'd like to on the platform, it's just not going to be supported from SkySwitch. So we support the products that we test and verify and validate that is going to be good solutions for you and your end users out there. But if you have something you want to connect and it's outside the scope of what we provide as far as our support, then you're going to be on your own. Next question is, any chance of looking at Microtech routers?
Yeah, I'm aware of Microtech, and they have a nice solution. The issue is that they don't have a cloud managed solution, as far as I know. And really, our the philosophy is to ease deployment by making everything managed in the cloud. And so that's the reason why we haven't really considered them. Although I know that many resellers are, very, very happy with Microtech and have figured out how to configure them in a way that makes it work for them. So, I'm a fan of Microtech. I just don't think it's the kind of thing that SkySwitch could really support in the way that we like to support our products.
The next question here, Bill, you asked, I'd be happy to get rid of the 2 SimpleWay boxes that we purchased from you at what I paid you for them. One is an NFR unit and the other is a regularly priced unit. Well, Bill, I got to tell you, I'd love to take this car back to the dealership too and get full price for it too. It just doesn't work that way. But give me a call. You know, we want to be fair and equitable in every regard. So just give me a call personally. We'll talk about it offline and we'll see what we can do. Okay. Next question here. Can we have a tech webinar on implementation of the NPAT?
So we really tried to make NPAT easy enough so that anybody could use it, and you know, that it wouldn't really require much technical know-how to support. There's a glossary that explains all of the terms that are used in NPAT, and I don't. Yeah, we could talk about having a webinar, or actually. William is here also in the room, and he says please call him, and he'd be happy to walk you through it.
Okay, so I just want to move on through these questions because I want to try to get to and answer every one of them for you. So, is there any marketing collateral for the no more robocalls? Unfortunately, we don't have any marketing collateral for it, but there's plenty of information that you have on site, and it's not that complicated of a service. So being able to just copy and paste some of that information you see out there, rearrange it, restructure it, and create your own collaterals is very, very simple to put that information. Even get it on your website. I wouldn't suggest copying anything verbatim, but you know, it's available for you right there for us just to create a collateral for it. We just don't think it's more of just a feature rather than a product. So you probably won't see anything in the near future on that. Next question here is, what about AutoTask? Well, what about AutoTask? Eric, I'm gonna put that over to you. I think they're talking about AutoTask integration.
Yeah, so AutoTask is probably the second most popular MSP management platform after Connectwise. It's certainly on our list. We're learning as we go with the Connectwise integration, and we don't have specific plans yet, but I expect that we will tackle AutoTask next.
Yeah, and just to let you guys know, I'm seeing a lot more of that out there as more MSPs come to us and are requesting demonstrations, and we do a discovery call with them. We're seeing AutoTask is popping up more. So as we see that, we'll start approaching that and seeing how we can do some better integration there, or even some integration. Next question here, any plans or thoughts on integration with Zoho for billing?
No, not at the moment. I don't know for sure, but I expect that the telecom taxation would be a problem in Zoho. Telecom taxation is the issue that most billing platforms have when it comes to billing for the types of services that we sell, and that's why there are purpose-built platforms like Rev.io that specialize in telecom billing. That said, we're open to looking at anything that makes your lives easier. And so if you have specific information that's different than that, please let me know, and we'll definitely take it into consideration.
Okay, getting back to the 3CX announcement, does this mean with our integration, does this mean that we could use, or our resellers could use, the 3CX SBCs?
Yeah, well, there's nothing that stops you from using any SBC that you like, including 3CX. I guess what it means, though, is that we'll be able to support you better, and 3CX will also support you. So the answer is an unqualified yes.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Next question here. When will day-night mode monitored BLF be available?
Okay, so that's a good question, and it's one we've struggled with. So I've mentioned this before. we're currently running V39 of the NetSapiens platform for our web portals and API, but V38 for the core switch itself. And the reason is because the V39 core switch just has had scaling issues when we've tried to turn it on. It's something we've been working with NetSapiens closely for way over 6 months since V39 was released. They're getting better, and I believe that we're closer now than we've ever been to being able to deploy the V39 code for the core switch, and that's what's necessary for the day-night mode monitored BLF to be available. So believe me when I say that nobody wants that to happen more than we do, and NetSapiens as well, and we're working very hard to make that happen. But of course, we don't want to deploy it before it's ready, because the last thing we want is to cause problems for you. And so we're only going to do it when it's fully tested and we feel confident in our ability to support it. But it should be close. And I realize I've been saying that for many months. So but but it really is getting better. So take that for as you will.
Okay. Getting back to the SD-WAN announcement that we made with Cloud to Edge and with Ribbon and so forth, what about VeloCloud devices? What about VeloCloud SD-WAN? Any plans for future integration?
So what we're doing with the SimpleWAN and with Cloud to Edge and with Peplink is not really SD-WAN. I mean, they have some SD-WAN type or like features, but it's not really full SD-WAN. It's more about enforcing quality of service rules at the premise and giving you some visibility into the premise. SD-WAN, which is really what VeloCloud does and what Big Leaf does, and there's many other SD-WAN vendors out there, is similar but slightly different. Frankly, we haven't really gotten, when we've brought up the issue of launching or reselling something like a VeloWAN or a Big Leaf, we haven't gotten a lot of positive responses, mostly because of the price. And of course, you could always go directly to VeloCloud or to Big Leaf, and many of you do, and get the solution directly from them. So it's really just from our perspective about picking the solution that is going to make the most difference in your lives. And we just haven't heard that from our base. If that changes, of course, we will change as well.
Okay, so next question here from Mr. Ron Skipper. When will Button Builder be available to domain managers?
This was answered earlier. So you can make a request to support today to expose that to your end users, and support will configure that for you. There's a little more API work that needs to be done before we make it generally available, and you can turn it on at will. We expect that to be done within the next 30 days.
Okay, next question here. Why don't you provide a demo unit for your huddle room conferencing system to your resellers? As I kind of explained a little bit earlier, the pricing that you see out there right now is really pretty much right at our cost today. So we don't want to have to go in the hole to bring this, bring this to you. However, we do want adoption. So there might be a program we may run during the summer within a few months where maybe we can do more of an NFR for the huddle room, something a little bit more structured that we could run for a specific period of time that would allow you to get it and install it, and at least start getting it out there and deploying it. More on that later. Next question here.
I just had something to add. These are expensive solutions. If you look at huddle rooms from other vendors, they're many thousands of dollars, and so even at the current price, it's really quite affordable compared to what's out there. It's just we can't just give them away. That said, we want to work with you, and as Jayson mentioned, we'll try to come up with a solution.
Okay, just to answer Sean's question real quick, yes, there's going to be a copy and recording of this webinar. It will be sent to everybody. Usually we send it out same day, so most likely you should be receiving that this afternoon. Dale had another question about what the Vector sign-up link is. Again, it's vectors2019.com. Anything on the roadmap for lead generation done by SkySwitch where resellers can pay a fee to get leads?
So at last year's Vectors, we talked about the CVA, the Cloud Voice Alliance, and admittedly, we've been a little slow off the mark to get that to you, but work is being done on that, and we expect to have it really fully baked before the next Vectors, because we want to present the next version of it to you at the next Vectors, and lead generation is part of that effort. So stay tuned.
Next question here is, I'd like to learn more about Rocket Chat. Will there be a detailed information available in the SkySwitch knowledge base about Rocket Chat?
There is information in the SkySwitch knowledge base today about how to set up Rocket Chat. This is a third-party platform. As I mentioned, it's open source. You can download it, install it. There is also a hosted version of Rocket Chat, which you can purchase from Rocket Chat. They have very good documentation. So if you go to the Rocket Chat website, pretty much everything you need to know about setting up Rocket Chat and supporting Rocket Chat itself is available there. When it comes to the integration with SMS, it's really more of a configuration issue, and we cover those configuration instructions in our knowledge base.
Again, we had another inquiry about Vectors 2019. There is no promo code you have to enter. Anybody that orders a day, we will credit your account back next month, $50. Anybody who registers today. Next question is, what is the monthly subscription cost for the Edge Mark, for the Cloud to Edge?
That's a good question. I believe it's in our documentation as well. Frankly, I don't have the answer to it. So if you send in a support request with that, we'll point you to the right place.
Okay, next question. With the core update, hopefully encrypted VoIP is coming soon. So I imagine they're speaking of SRTP and TLS.
Yes, right. So the version 39 of the core switch is also the version that supports SRTP and TLS. And yes, so that will be possible once we're able to deploy that. Now, actually, the issue we're having with version 39 is that the support for SRTP and TLS is what requires greater processing power and has greatly decreased the capacity of the switch. So we're trying to find the right mix, and it may be that we have to disable that in a version of version 40, which we'll do first. And so this is one of the topics that we're in discussions with NetSapiens on. Again, our goal, as I've said before, is to offer that to you as a solution. It will likely, because of the greater processing requirements, so there'll undoubtedly be an upcharge associated with it, but it's our intent to get that to you as soon as possible after we deploy version 39.
Next question here is from Michael down in Florida. He goes, he states here, this is a great touching base forum. Can we get better documentation or a clearer roadmap? What is the best point of contact or contact? The documents referred to is somewhat lacking at times. Eric, maybe you want to just kind of address them and let them know about what we've been experiencing as a company and our growth and our expansion plans and where we're headed as a company.
Yeah, well, I'll agree that our documentation is not as good as it could be. We recently hired a dedicated tech writer. Before that, it was the various members of the support team who pitched in to create the documentation. As Jayson alluded to, we're growing very quickly, and a lot of being able to provide you services about, having the support people necessary to make sure the service is reliable to you. And documentation shouldn't take a backseat to that, but unfortunately it just has, based on the realities of hiring and training and getting that done. That said, as I mentioned, we do now have a dedicated technical writer, and we expect you'll see, or our plan is to let you see a much improved documentation going forward. As always, if you have specific questions, just direct them to support. We'll try and get that to the right person. In many cases, it will be me. But I want to answer your questions, and whenever I can, I will.
Okay, thanks, Eric. And just as everybody knows, just to add on to that just a little bit, I'm trying to wrap things up here too. We're getting way over our time limit, but we're experiencing a lot of growth. Our headcount's going way up. We're moving into some new corporate offices, and I think we've done an effective job, and we've stayed true to our culture and where we started off as a company. We want to remain very transparent and open, and have an open and honest relationship with our resellers. So, I know that we've maintained that, and I hope you can appreciate that we're continuing to do so. And even as we grow into the future, we still want to stay true to this trademark that we've established as a company. Next question: how about a community area where we can talk to each other, SkySwitch customers, to get ideas and best practices from others?
Well, that exists today in there's a discussion forum in the dashboard. Now, actually, a revamp of that discussion forum is long overdue, and the developer who works on the dashboard, that's probably the third thing down on his list in terms of when we'll get to it. But it's there, and so people are using it. You will get a reply if you post something there. The usability is what we're going to improve on that.
Okay, and to answer your question, Mr. Bill Smith, yes, I'll be working with you on your tier 1. Okay, so I'll give you a call. We're in meetings this whole week. Give me this week to work through this, and then we'll get you taken care of next week, sir. Okay, thank you. Next question here: is Rocket Chat SMS integration available for SIP trunking, or only customers who? Okay, is Rocket Chat SMS integration available for SIP trunking only customers, or is this a reach UC feature only for hosted customers?
So today, you do need a reach. I mean, you do need a PBX user for the Rocket Chat integration to work. We realize that that's not ideal, and we're working on making that so that you won't need a PBX user, but that's not currently available. And so today there has to be a PBX user. That said, you can make it work with a hosted customer as long as there's a PBX user that's been created. It doesn't need to have a device, so it's not billable. So you can still make it work, but there does need to be a PBX user associated with it.
Here's a good question. Any chance of white labeled documentation for our resellers?
Yeah, so I mentioned our new technical writer, and actually that's the next thing on his plate is to white label the user guide and the office manager guides that have been available on our help site for quite a while, but they're out of date. They don't have the latest features, so he's working on making them up to date and more suitable for you to white label.
Hey, thank you, John Reese and Bill Smith. Thank you for the kudos. We really appreciate that. Stating that we do an amazing job, and we continue to do an amazing job and support you guys. But the final question here today is, here's an idea. Why don't you start selling your UC solutions back to NetSapiens? That is from Jose Alfonso.
Well, because then you wouldn't buy them from us, Jose. Come on over. It's nice over here.
Okay, with that last question, we want to thank everybody for taking the time out. It was a long session today, but we had a lot of content to deliver to you. Look forward to seeing you on the next SkySwitch University webinar. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and your recording will be sent out to you this afternoon. And don't forget to go and register for Vectors 2019. Have a great day. Bye-bye.